Hey, welcome back to Next Third Best Third. I'm David Fenwick, your founder and host, and I'm here again with Kevin Gates, my dear friend. And before we get started, I just want to encourage you that if this content has been helpful to you, if you haven't subscribed yet, if you subscribe, comment, hit like, but share also. It's going to mean so much for us to grow this platform and to reach more and more people, not just men, right? So today we're going to talk about something that's been very dear to my heart, and I know it is to yours, and it's to men who are looking to reinvent themselves, right?
Yeah.
And that's an important thing at no matter what age you are. Mm-hmm. But I find it really interesting because you've got a successful practice, medical practice and everything, and yet you have a desire to do something that incorporates your entire family.
Yeah.
So let's dig into that a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a physical medicine and rehab doctor. I've got a practice at Baylor Scott & White up in Temple. And it's been a huge honor to be a part of that.
Yeah.
Just like any position that any of us, have hopefully that we're happy with most of the time. If you're working hard, stuff's going to come up, but it's a huge honor to have opportunities like that. I mean, my current, the chair in our department, I remember walking in at the interview and the first thing he said was, "We don't want anyone working here who isn't doing what they want to do. So what do you want to do?" Well, man, I'm coming here. I don't even care what happens after this. And, now I'm the vice chair in that department. And, as he's starting to think about retirement and other those things, I start thinking about how to honor that well. And what does that look like for the next stage of what I want to do in my life too? And how do you honor that confidence that someone else would have to entrust you with something, mm-hmm. and yet still have a desire for circumstances that would be outside of that to also be true? Like for me, a couple years ago, I really started feeling like I had this strong desire to work alongside my family. My wife is such an amazing person that she can handle all of these things while dad goes away and comes back, and she's got the full-time job, right? It never goes away with the kids, and it's an honor to do that for her too, and she loves that. Mm-hmm. There are parts of what she does that, man, do I really wish I was able to play a more active role in. Yeah. I think stuff happened where it's like, oh no, it's shouldered more now, or at least things are changing. I saw this in residency too, where they were talking about hours that you're at the hospital. It used to be, hey man, I tell you to go home when it's time to go home. You're here until I say, kind of. Mm-hmm. And now there's limits on that because maybe parts of that were unhealthy and blah, blah, blah. But with that was also this expectation and knowledge that people had that, hey, times are different now. And husbands and wives kind of do a little bit more of the house stuff together than maybe before, or whatever stereotypically you think was going on in the 50s. But regardless of those stereotypes, I just want to play a more active role in being around my kids and then learning things from mm-hmm. me. I get home, I am beat, and so I sit in the driveway. And there was someone else who, I can't remember where I got this, but they would say to themselves when they sat down in their car before walking in, they would say, I'm about to go meet the most important people in my life. And no matter what I did or what happened the rest of today, they still deserve my best.
That's great.
And I try and do that now as much as I can. Mm-hmm. There are still times where I come in, I'm like, woof, my best was 45 miles north of here. And I got to figure out another way. And that's where you ask for provision and you ask for grace outside of yourself to be a part of that. But figuring out how to do that functionally, which is not an excuse to not do it, but how to do that functionally and how to make that happen operationally, I should say, is a totally different story. It's been a kind of a weird ride to try and figure that one out.
By the way, I think it's extremely important and healthy that to be thinking of these things and to be strategizing and looking into it while you're fully gainfully employed is a really great thing. Yeah. I've got 5 daughters and a son. My oldest 2 daughters are remarkable at this ability to have a really great job and then get another one while they're really doing well, right? One of them's in education, and then the other one's in more sales and things like that.
Right.
And as a matter of fact, the second daughter, she was expecting her third baby, my third grandchild, in October.
Congrats.
And she's working for this company, and they love her and everything. Well, in the meantime, she's about to go on maternity leave, and she just took another job.
Yeah, right.
And this is just what she does. It's like her sixth move in the last 7, 8 years, 10 years.
Wow.
But what I'm saying is when you're trying to think about reinventing yourself, it's a whole lot easier and healthier to do it while you're working, instead of, you're unemployed and you're like going, now what do I want to do? And you come up with this dream,
Right.
but it's hard to enact that dream when you're not bringing in money.
Oh boy. Yeah. What a hard tension to have to navigate, because burning the boat sounds fun and all as far as like, here comes the adventure, but the stress of, but how do I do like each day right now?
Yeah.
And what does that look like? The additional stress from that. I mean, my gosh, I am so blessed that I'm not in that position. And that reinvention may come in the form of, doing something else that's employment at the same time. There's a lot of ways that would not happen right now contractually and all that stuff. However, even figuring out other ventures that would even be just volunteer or other ways to develop my family. Because I want to make sure that I'm doing what I can to pass on whatever knowledge I've got about how life is going and the opportunity that's there, and be involved in that. Because I also didn't mention the amazingness of my wife also has to do with the fact that she's also homeschooling and doing like a homeschool co-op thing with our son. She also has that. So she's got this great opportunity there and loves doing that. And
she's a realtor.
She is, right. So she's doing all of these things. And it's humbling to witness, actually. And so I kind of, I complain too much, I think, about, those, your diamond slippers are a little too tight kind of thing, But it comes from a desire to honor the fact that the Lord has entrusted me and my wife to not be the sole provider, right? Like what Dano would say about like, hey, men are not the sole provider for the family. The Lord is, right? So, but by allowing the Lord to do that, it kind of allows us to then play that stewarding role. And what I'm trying to do now is play a more active stewarding role for normal things that happen during the day, and what it takes to have an opportunity to work next to each other so that they get exposed to what that's like.
So I love this. Your generation, right? We're quite a few years apart, and so for me, for me at my age, reinventing yourself, that's a whole nother thing, right? And it's really more inspiration to get guys to not be cashing it in, just shutting it down, getting complacent. But for your age and your generation and your peers, I think, and maybe you can speak into this, because so many people are working from home now,
right?
So they're kind of around their families more. But I just admire so much of the young guys who I work with who really want to be vested and invested in very, very tangible ways with the entire family.
Yeah.
And I love that, to try to think, what could we do together?
Yeah, amen. It's I think those are YouTube rabbit holes you could find yourself down of, like, that could scare your wife or husband, where you're looking at like, why are you looking at so much farming stuff? We're not going to be farmers, like, please stop. Well, I've been looking at this land, like, no. So it's one of those, I use that example because there's part of that life that I admire. It's you're around, you're available, you're relying on each other during the day to take care of some things, but you have exposure to then speak into different things that happen just during the day. Normal stuff doesn't have to be a formal, Okay, now sit down and go over math time, right? That's important. I got it. But, if a farmer's mending a fence or, doing something like, hey, here's how this works and here's why, here's how you measure this. So there are opportunities to do that. And if I was being honest, yes, there's probably totally times I could do that in the evening, coming home and doing real stuff, right?
Yeah.
Not just playtime. But that vesting in them is so important to me. And has become way more so than I could have ever imagined or understood before having kids. And especially after getting to know them and you start to see their personality. I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this about you. I love seeing you light up when you do this thing. I want to do whatever I can to enable you and facilitate you doing as much of that as you want.
Yeah.
And figuring out where those opportunities are. My wife does that all day long. And dang it, I want to have a part in that too.
So we have mutual friends who they have a merger and acquisitions business. They also have a real estate brokerage, and they do it out of their home.
Right.
And I know you've been over there at times. I've been there where they're be holding their baby while having a business conversation, and everything. And that's really, really cool. So it's something that you can get very creative, right, and do. But I'm going to bring up kind of a little warning here. So I own my own retail business, when I was raising my family, and I was a pastor. So I'm a full-time pastor, and I had a full-time retail business at the same time. And my family, my kids, as they got into teenage years, a couple of them worked with me. And I didn't realize, and this was an eye-opener for me. One of my daughters who worked with me, she said, Dad, she goes, I had trouble because she says I struggled because I didn't know if I was talking to my father, my pastor, or my employer.
Wow. Yeah.
And when she said that, I mean, it was just like, it just went boom,
Right.
And it was such a blow. And yet I love the fact we could have that conversation.
And then, right.
But there is something there to be, aware of, is that, when you have a family, business or family venture that you're doing, is how do you navigate that? I think our friends are navigating it pretty good that we were talking about.
Sure.
But I grew up in a family retail business with the expectation that we had to work.
Right.
So, when I was 10 years old, I was working in my dad's shoe business, and it was expected. And, it was wholesome.
Sure.
But I don't think, for me, what it is, I actually built a little bit of a resentment because there was this expectation on me. Instead of saying, David, what do you want to do? This is what you're going to do.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting because that's really interesting because my brother, who I love dearly and look up to in a lot of ways for his ability to just adapt and take care of stuff. It's amazing. And I think that's actually why he does well working with my parents, who are very high performing people. Both of my parents, I mean, they run a very lean lubricants business in Houston, but they're lean, man. And so that means anyone who works there is integrated probably into multiple processes. And honestly, seeing how my brother navigates that and how my parents navigate that together is very cool.
Yeah.
It is very neat because I think what you're saying, there's tension for sure. There's definitely tension with that at times because of the time requirement that's there, I think. And maybe there's other ripples that go into other family events and stuff like that. But I don't know that anyone would ever say that they would trade it for something different in that set of circumstances. Would you have said that, would you have traded that when you were?
It's hard to say because I did build a resentment up, be honest with you. But I've learned so much over these years about communication.
Right.
And about conflict.
Right.
My marriage ended 7 years ago and I used to brag that we never had a fight. Well, guess what?
Right.
That's not healthy.
Right.
You have to have healthy conflict, and you have to have healthy communications, and you have to set up that time where like for me, I can't say about being raised and what my father did differently or wrong, but looking back at the way I was with my kids, I think, well, I know that if I could have made space and been very open with communication, saying, hey, this is what we're doing now as business, we're going to be, and talk to them like that, but through the whole thing also make sure that they understood it first and foremost. I was dad.
Yeah, amen. That's cool. Someone I think that's out there kind of putting good information about this out right now. These two guys, have you ever read a book by Jeremy Pryor or Jefferson Bethke?
No.
Jefferson Bethke wrote this book called The Hell with the Hustle, or To Hell with the Hustle, I think. And then Jeremy Pryor wrote another one, I can't remember the name right now, Family Revision.
Okay.
And they actually have a business themselves on how to help other families start a family business.
Wow.
It's super interesting. And all of this being based on kind of their view and their approach to this is multi-generational families on mission together. The family itself is not the mission. The mission is to work with the family to go do the thing, right?
Okay.
So it's not putting the family like, oh, we're just going to be this kind of family together, but we are this kind of family so that we can go out and we can serve. And that's kind of what they've started to do. And I'd be interested, in that book, he talks a little bit about those boundaries, but I think you're right. I think figuring out that communication, having more clearly delineated boundaries of communication and what mode we're in right then, that kind of stuff. I could absolutely see that. The cool thing about that to me is at least then when you're in that close proximity, there's the opportunity to have that conversation.
There is.
As opposed to, well, I don't know what work dad does.
Right.
My kids, I've tried this a few times. Like I'll tell them some patient stories and stuff like that during the day, and then we'll pray for patients together. Man, Benjamin, he'll come up and ask, he's 6, he'll come up and ask me later, hey, how's so-and-so doing? I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Who were you talking about? He said, the person that we prayed. Oh, right. Yeah, I've slept since then. And he remembers that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think as we're talking about trying to reinvent and come up with new ways to do our family, investing in them, there's small ways to do it now.
Yes.
And iterate on that until you get to a place where you're not having to burn the boats, not just financially, but how your family does and that kind of stuff, and start like growing that from a small thing. There might be a time where you run up against some type of habit or procedure in your family where you go, now there's a limit here. But figuring out how to get past that would just be another step in the process.
That's an interesting thing for the men and women who are listening who are trying to figure out, okay, how do I start to incorporate my family? That's a very interesting concept to say, okay, this is what dad does.
Right.
And explain it to them a little bit, and kind of start to bring them in that way.
Right.
I remember, you probably don't remember this, but I remember when there was this big move in the 90s, it was like, take your daughter to work day and take your son to work day, those kind of things. And that to me always was kind of a neat concept, but there's ways that you can integrate that even now, right?
Oh, sure. I mean, in fact, you see some people do it now. Yeah. I think there are other positions that are more conducive to that, but you're right. I mean, I've always kind of thought that was pretty cool too, and there's some novelty to it and that sort of stuff, but it still comes down to, I really don't, I for some reason I have a strange relationship with the term intentionality, because it just feels so like, almost like a should a little bit, but that's a personal problem.
One of my most used terms, is intentionality.
To be fair, but I mean, and maybe that's a personal thing for me then.
No,
maybe I need to get past that.
Good.
But the part about, but I understand the heart behind that. Right. It's, well, if you don't do that, something else is going to fill its place. And it's going to be whatever else will work its way in there, but it's not even a control thing. I have to control this set of circumstances to then reinvent my life to be this. The reality is something's going to be there.
Right.
You have a choice. You can put something in its place.
Yeah.
The dinner table conversation is going to have something in it. You could either make a decision that part of it's going to involve what dad does during the day and ask questions about that kind of stuff. Okay, like my daughter's 3, right? So there's part of that she has even started to get a little bit interested in now too when we talk about it. It doesn't happen all the time though.
Yeah.
You know, and that's because we give priority to something else, like mom and dad eating and having a conversation without the kids going crazy and that kind of stuff. So sometimes we even eat dinner like staggered a little bit, but we're still trying to sit and have those conversations with them. But it does take effort, but realizing that something's going to fill that space. And we, as dads, especially as fathers, have an opportunity to fill it with something that could grow that relationship closer to our kids and involve them in something that they would never have an opportunity to be involved in otherwise.
Yeah. You know, when you're talking about, having your career and reimagining yourself, where this could go, right now it's very popular, and I agree 100% with multiple streams of income, And that's one area where I think that you could start to slowly integrate, especially as your kids are, 3 and 6 is one thing, but your kids are 9 and 12 and things like that, is to get them involved in those different streams, And there's so many ways that you can have new streams of income, especially nowadays with the internet and everything. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. And lots of different things to get involved in. With the expressed purpose of like, how is that going to serve your family?
Yeah.
Like, is it, the money part, yeah. You want to teach, or I would want to teach my kids, hey, part of somebody respecting the work you do is rewarding you for it and by paying you to do it. However, there's still another side of that where people have business models that they don't ask for a lot of money up front and things just somehow come to meet them later because of the value of the product that they're providing. So there's all kinds of different ways to do that. And it has to do with what do you have capacity for? The tension I felt in my life was, and still do, is the load on my system currently, personally, work-wise, does not necessarily allow for that all the time.
Right.
So I have to figure out, how am I gonna work that to where that bandwidth exists to even allow for that?
Yeah, I think a lot of that though is your children's ages.
Yeah, that could be.
Those are wonderful ages.
Sure.
So much discovery and everything like that, but you are a bit limited there. As they get older, it gets easier to incorporate. I have a friend of mine who, so I have the podcast. I'm a full-time pastor and I am a realtor. And I've got a friend who's a realtor who has a teenager who they have brought into the business where the teenager does all what an assistant would do. Right. And they're teaching their daughter basically how to be a real estate assistant.
Very cool.
And she's skilled at it, and she's doing all the CRM stuff. She's doing all the back paperwork and everything, and they're paying her well, and it's just a real cool thing because they're working as this dynamic team.
Yeah.
And so there's things you can do when they're older.
For sure. And that's so cool. Yeah. And I received that.
Yeah.
And that kind of normalizing, you're so good at this, normalizing, hey, that's normal to feel like that, is super helpful. I'll just put out there what my vision is for the future and what I'd love to see out there for our family and others. And actually having conversations with other people. Other people have had the same vision independently from us about this, and I'll just put it out there. But part of what I'd love to see is a coordinated effort in the health and wellness space in an actual geographic location that brings a lot of the same like-minded practitioners, businesses together into one place, almost like a town center where families want to go, that has I'm stealing a term from someone I respect so much, Chris Garrison, who's my program director in residency. But structured therapeutic environment is what we usually use to refer to inpatient rehab. But I want to make a non-hospital structured therapeutic environment in the form of a town center where it's like our families want to go there. Why? Because, gosh, all the food there is great. There's like a cafeteria there, a common meeting space because, dad or mom is working in their office. It's right there. And then they're actually encouraged to come down and share a meal for lunch each day if you can. You're there to take care of other things.
So cool, and it's so widespread. So you're talking about massage therapists, and you're talking about chiropractors,
doctors,
and you're talking about doctors and nutritionists, and maybe a stretch lab, and yoga, and all these different things all in one place.
Because right now they all exist somewhere else,
right?
And there was a strip mall model that worked, right? And because it makes it much more economical to do that. But now the thought behind things like The Power of Moments, Unreasonable Hospitality, these kind of books, these thoughts of like, okay, wait a minute.
Great book, by the
this
way.
Is, oh man, just that's for me, that would be the fun part about doing that, is to have a place where people walk up and they go, what is going on?
Yeah.
Because the honor and the love that you can show people through excellence that we're called to and made available to us, that is something that is so valuable to share with someone, to let them know that they are loved, because someone was willing to spend excellence on them, and because they decided to show up. And that's all they had to do. And all of a sudden you're in this entirely new environment where it's easy to make the right decision, as opposed to when you're by yourself or isolated. You might make the decision that you've made before because there's nothing else that's been injected there.
I could see even, the community, the networking part of this. So now you're people are coming there for a reason.
Right.
They're meeting other like-minded people, and you start to build community over health,
right,
and over the right kind of intentionality.
That's it.
For me, intentionality, by the way, has always been a word about passion.
Sure. Okay. I love that. So, and maybe my belief about that, but I love that.
Yeah.
Because things like that exist now, right? I'm not dogging Georgetown Square. It's awesome. It's so much fun. You can go up there, you hang out. They've got the grass now that's so nice. You've got Red Horn coffee. You've got beer that you can walk around with. There's great restaurants, all the awesome. Great intentionality around community. Fantastic. I love it. For me, that's an even stronger argument that something like this could be worth doing.
Absolutely.
And be another location that makes sense to go. As parents during the day, and I can tell you from my wife's perspective, the decision to travel 20 minutes to go somewhere better mean we're going to spend some time while we're out.
Right.
So having a place where kids are welcome, it's not crazy. It's enough of a controlled environment that they can play in a place that's somewhat contained. You're not worried about wandering off like in a mall or something like that. But having a place where the intention, the potential script for an interaction at this place could be 15 minutes from your house. You go because we're picking up dry cleaning. We're also going to get coffee with a friend before my doctor's appointment. The kids are coming because I'm also going to meet my other friend who's up there to do other stuff. And then we're going to have lunch with Dad while we're there. And then we'll play around for a minute and go home. You might do that once every couple weeks. But for us, trip to Target versus trip to something like that, I mean, that's kind of what I have in my mind, because then
I love this idea.
Eventually kids being able to, you could intentionally incorporate incorporate. Yeah.
See how that comes up?
Sneak in there. However, it's because it's valuable. And there is passion behind it.
Yeah.
Now you could build in things for kids with appropriate ages to have stuff to do while they're there.
Right.
Right. And on purpose.
Absolutely.
So that's the kind of thing that, as we talk about reinventing, that I've got in my mind for however many years down the road, and to have something like that. To me, it just sounds like the Disney World of health kind of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where it's like, wow, this is how it's supposed to be.
Every major city has places, like in Austin, we call the Domain, right? These places where there are major shopping, restaurants, coffee shops, all this stuff, in apartments and hotels, and it's this go-to,
right?
And I'm sure you and the family have gone down there. A lot of people love to just walk around and have fun. But for me, going down there in those kind of places, also like the town square, there's so much there that I'm not interested in.
Yes. Yeah.
You know,
Right.
what you're talking about is this cohesiveness where it all starts to make sense.
Right.
You know, and you're putting yourself in a positions where the thing that is motivating you, the passion that you have for health and family, all of a sudden, and for community, all of a sudden has a place to really nurture and to blossom and grow. And,
Right.
you know, to me, I think it's a fantastic idea. So,
I received that. Yeah. It could be really neat because those people focused on health, then there could be communication between them on here's what we're doing. What are you doing? How can we work together to make this person's life a little bit better? That kind of stuff. But I'm not waiting until then to do parts of that. Right. So, and this would be for anyone thinking about big dreams like that. You can do parts of those things now.
Yeah.
Where like, even in my medical practice now, there are things that I tell every patient that they're not expecting a doctor to say. One of my things I say to every single person, regardless of how the visit went, not all of them are great. But I say, listen, if you need to see me before we have a scheduled appointment, you send me a message. I'll get you in anytime. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just here working. So if I'm booked all day long, doesn't matter. I will double book you. We will get you taken care of.
That's great.
That's one of those things where you're like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Nobody says that. Everyone else says it is what it is, man. And that's the kind of thing that I'm trying to find other ways of doing that in clinic where it's unexpected stuff. There's a recent, and I think the second season of The Bear we just watched. Have you ever seen that show? Yeah. Oh, man. Have you seen the one where cousin Richie is staging at a really hoity-toity restaurant and he's listening to this maitre d' come in and talk about, I'm sure there's an official name for that role, but whatever, come in and talk about people who are coming to dine that night. This is a restaurant. I got it. Michelin star, blah, blah. But they're talking about the people coming in to dine that night and who they are and what they're going to do for them. One of them, he says, these are school teachers. And based on their Instagram account, she's been saving up for this for a while. He says, I want them to get, caviar, champagne. I want them to get a tour of the kitchen. I want them to meet the chef. I want all this stuff. And we're not going to drop a bill tonight for them. I want to blow their minds. And I was going, yep, that's what I want to do
great.
all of the time.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that we have opportunities to do that around us. And I don't do it. I'll just talk about me. I don't do it all of the time because I have a belief that I don't have enough resources or time to do it. There might be some of that that's reality, but I could definitely find some small things to do. So
it's interesting how we convince ourselves of something that really is, it's like we disqualify ourselves.
Yeah.
I can't do that because I don't have enough time, or it's going to cost too much, or, and what you're really doing is you're living out of a position of fear.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. That if I give that, I'm not going to get what I gave and I'm going to end up with nothing.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to end up behind, or I'm going to end up exhausted. Or,
I'll be honest with you. It's more than fear. I'm going to shock you here. You know what it is? It's greed.
Yeah. Well said.
You know why? Because greed isn't, I want more and more and more. That's gluttony. Greed is, I'm afraid I won't have enough.
That's right.
I won't have enough time. I won't have enough resources. I won't have enough. That's an attitude of greed.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just admit, I practice that because I will defend myself against interactions with people at times for fear that I won't have enough after I give it.
Yeah.
And that's something to fight as I'm thinking about reinventing myself and what to do next. Do you know who the Savannah Bananas are? Savannah Bananas.
The baseball team?
Dude, that guy who wears the yellow top hat and talks about what they do and why, that's someone who at one point did have nothing, living in a basement on a mattress with his wife that after they lost their house and stuff because of it. That's a guy who really looks at that as, we'll give it all. Yeah. Just give it all to them. Give it away because we want to have, it's all about our fans.
Yeah.
I want to be that. It's all about my patients. It's all about my family. It's all about my kids. It's all about my wife. Not to be the hero dad who gets a gold star at the end, but I don't know that there's a higher calling than to give it. Well, there's not to give ourselves to others with that.
Give ourselves away, the greatest thing that we could do, right?
Yeah.
You know, I want to touch real quick before we finish on the older guy.
Yeah.
Right. And get your insight into this. So many times when I first started this next third best third, it was really I had a target, and it was a male, late 40s and older. Well, that's not who we're getting some of that, but we really trend way younger, and we also trend to the female, which I didn't expect. But what I still see is these men who are in their mid 50s, 60s, and even beyond, where what they're doing is they've bought into this. Well, I've worked all my life, now I'm just going to retire, and I'm just, they get complacent and everything. I want to inspire them to be thinking the way you are. It's what could I create? I mean, there's men out there right now who are listening to this who could fund exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
They could come up to you and say, I love this idea, I'll fund it.
Right.
How cool would that be?
Dude, I'll just speak for myself, but other young guys, the reality is we need you. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a scary thing to have a dream like that because of what you're afraid what may happen, the risk it might take. Hearing from someone who's done it and says, oh, it's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. Or you're not by yourself. Like, I'm with you to do this. Even if you don't have the vision yourself, if you like a vision that someone else, but that's true for all of us, but especially you don't have to recreate it yourself, I don't think.
No.
But I will say just like I will say to my dad, I say it to him often because I call him sometimes, more often when I do need something other than just, hey, what's up? But I need you.
Yeah.
We need you. You have so much purpose in not just contributing passively, but becoming a part of who I am and who younger people are, because we don't know that we can do it.
Yeah. For the older guys out there listening to this, I'm going to use that word intentionality, is to have a passion to reach out to you. Right. 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 You know me well. That's what I do. I reach out to younger guys on purpose all the time. Older guys too. And the thing about it is you guys are busy with your lives. You're busy with your family. You've got your careers and everything. You would love to have these older guys speak into your life, but you don't have time really to go and reach out to them. But if they reach out to you and initiate that, and to encourage, one of the things that I can speak into people's lives is I don't have money to fund this, but I have lost everything twice,
Right.
And I'm a better David now than I ever was. So I can address the fear of loss.
Right.
So you lose.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
You can keep going, Yeah. Now, I'm not making light of that.
Sure.
I hope that never happens to anybody. But if guys who are in there, they've made a success, right? And they're retired now. I don't like that term. They're not currently working, or really engaged. Is, man, if they could get engaged with and help somebody's dream come true.
Yeah.
How cool would that be? That's a real legacy.
Oh man, talk about legacy. Yeah, and planting the seeds of trees for shade you'll never see.
Yeah,
right. That's a cool thing to do. And also not measuring, this is true for me, I'm not preaching to anybody, not measuring your worth based on what someone else will ascribe to you, whether by how often they reach out to you, whether or not they know you, whether or not, if I haven't called you, guess what? That is on me.
Yeah. You
are in and of yourself intrinsically valuable. Regardless of how much attention someone else has paid to you, you have something to offer. If someone was to offer to talk to me, you, Steve Kane, people who I didn't know I needed. Right. Oh my gosh, I had no idea.
Right. Who
were bold enough to reach out. Maybe there's fear of, someone going, who are you? Like, I don't want to talk to.
Right.
No way. I'd say most of the people I'm around at least are hungry for that. And it's only by our own short-sightedness that we're not out there, will someone please help me? Because there's also part of being a dude, at least for me, where it's like, I got it handled. If I get somebody else involved, this is going to get messy.
Right.
I need it to just be kind of like what I can handle, and that's it. I have to get out of that mindset and be more in the abundance mindset of someone else has something to offer beyond what I would be able to control.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing.
Even at your age, there's guys who you can speak into their lives and encourage them. You can be their quote unquote mentor. But the attitude of the heart of the guy who's reaching out can't be, I'm going to fix you.
Right.
I've got all the answers.
Right.
My experience, you're doing this wrong. It's got to come from a servant's heart. Yeah. I'm going to give myself away.
Right.
And I'm going to humble myself and serve your vision. And as you glean and ask me questions, then I'll speak into that, right? But I'm just here to love on you. You know? But I've seen it where there's men who I personally know who are almost offended because they're like, I know so much and I've got so much background and I can do all these things and nobody wants it. And I'm like, they don't want it because they know you're going to force it on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's our job as someone else to who's going to receive that to communicate it and figure out how to interact with that.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I appreciate that. This is what we're trying to do. Can you contribute to this?
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think about the lost effort or opportunity to grow something because of the inability to put those two things together for fear that they're going to clash.
Right.
Or just that someone wants to do it just their way. I got it. There's got to be some give and take with some of that too, because in reality, part of my vision probably ain't going to work, and somebody else is going to have some wisdom. So to your point, it's on us to accept that some of those things need to change too. But you're right. It's somebody coming in and saying, I know how to fix it before understanding the problem. What it really is the development of that relationship, because out of the friendships that come from reaching out, just the question of, tell me what you're doing.
Right.
Oh man, people will talk about that for a long time if they're excited about it, if they have intentionality or passion behind it, they'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And if you'll listen long enough to know and figure out where that value is that you could give back, that's what I practice all day long as a doctor, right? You just sit and you listen and you just wait on, oh, there it is. Now I know.
Right.
This is where we're going to go.
That's good. Good.
So that's one of those things that, as you're talking about men who are in the stages of wondering what value they have to offer, it is there, and we are hungry for you to come and offer it.
I love to hear that. Yeah. I hope that inspires some of the older guys who are listening here today. So, well, this is so much fun.
It was awesome.
I so enjoy having you here, and I hope this encourages you to go out and make the next third your best third, and we'll see you next time.